And we'll begin with breaking news. Emergency crews are now responding to a building fire in Kalihi. This is near King Street, and smoke is visible from H1 near Hoftailing. A number of our tower and traffic cams. This is the scene from Dillingham and Wayakamilo as well. We can bring up that camera, and we'll continue to provide updates as they become available. But again, emergency crews currently responding to a building fire in Kalihi.
And if we look at this live video feed coming in, we've been watching this for about 5 minutes from now or so since this feed has come available. The smoke has died down just a bit, and I will say it was more black smoke earlier, just a short time ago. But again, HFD responding, and we have learned as well that that is a home there that they are responding to on fire. We'll continue to follow this throughout This Is Now and bring you any updates that we get as they come in. Meantime, more breaking news from the National Weather Service, and this is good. They just canceled the flash flood warning for the Garden Isle. There was reports of heavy rain falling there. They were really worried about the river there in Hanalei. But again, the flash flood warning has been canceled there. So let's get to some other news. We've also still waiting those numbers from the Department of Health, but we should get those any moment, and we'll bring those to you as well.
Yeah, state health officials keeping a very close eye on the case count as it unfolds. We've had 4 straight days of triple-digit cases, and so as soon as we hear anything from the Department of Health, we'll bring you those statistics. Now, the surge in cases comes as a spike in visitors during spring break.
What we're likely seeing is because of things like spring break and pulling back on the mitigation methods that you've seen now. Several states have done that.
So that's Dr. Fauci's warning about spring break's impact on the pandemic. There have been more than 20,000 trans-Pacific visitors arriving in Hawaii every day since Thursday. That includes nearly 25,000 on Saturday, and another 21,000 are expected in the state today. Sunday marked the highest number of travelers since the start of the pandemic. TSA screened more than 1.5 million people yesterday. That's a big difference from 1 year ago when only 180,000 travelers were screened. Keep in mind, back in 2019, there were more than 2.5 million screened on the same day.
I've never had trouble. This is the first time. And there's also troubles getting Lyft, Uber, like all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's really busy right now.
So that's Timo Lee. She spends part of her year in New York City and the other part right here back at home where she was raised in Hawaii. She's having a tough time finding a rental car.
First of all, there's no availabilities. And then we try different places like Expedia, we try Enterprise. Enterprise was like completely out of stock.
So this rebound we're seeing in spring break travelers has led to a severe shortage of rental cars in a number of vacation hotspots, including Hawaii, resulting in sky-high prices for vacationers.
There's some companies have cars, but they're very expensive. They're like 160 to up to 180 for like a small car for a day.
So I checked Expedia today, and on most days this week, there's not any cars available. And on Friday, I could only find a van for $500 and a convertible for nearly $1,000 a day. So according to CNN, following a year of deep losses, rental car companies have been unable to rebuild their fleets, especially with many auto plants shut due to that shortage of computer chips.
I'm going to pause here. I'm going to lose the script.
Meanwhile, the head of the CDC is asking Americans to stick with the pandemic precautions just a little bit longer.
And I'm going to reflect on the recurring feeling I have of impending doom. We have so much to look forward to, so much promise and potential of where we are, and so much reason for hope. But right now, I'm scared.
Today, officials announced that the U.S. has surpassed 30 million cases of COVID-19, and parts of the country are seeing a steady rise in cases.
I'm speaking today not necessarily as your CDC director, and not only as your CDC director, but as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, to ask you to just please hold on a little while longer. I so badly want to be done. I know you all so badly want to be done. We are just almost there, but not quite yet.
All Hawaii residents 60 and older can now get vaccinated starting today. However, Hawaii Pacific Health does not have any Oahu appointments available at Pier 2. We were able to find some open days on Queen's website. It now has 2 sites, one at the Blaisdell and another at West Oahu Hospital. Kaiser is also booking appointments, and Long's has some openings statewide.
New at noon, Hawaii News Now has learned the man shot to death in his Aiea garage has been identified as Malakai Mo Maumalanga. As of this morning, police have not made any arrests. It happened around 9:45 Saturday night on Eke Place. Neighbors say the suspects knocked on the door of his house and emptied their guns. The 45-year-old worked as a counselor for at-risk teens for an anti-gang nonprofit. Police are investigating the motive.
Mo was someone that loved to joke a lot. But you know, the one thing that I want people to remember about Molo, and a lot of people that know him know this, that he was the type of person that would give his shirt off his back for anyone. Very generous, very loving, very caring. I mean, even if you met him for one day, he would leave a lingering impact on you. And you would say, hey, I remember that guy. I spoke to him only one time, but I remember the guy. Something about that guy that really, really kind of stood out about him. But of course, those that have known him for years and months and years and so forth, obviously, they are the ones that are really, really taking this hard because of the impact that he's had. He's devoted husband and father. He's a coach. He's been a coach, a teacher, a mentor, an uncle. I mean, you name it.
The trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer accused of murdering George Floyd, is underway. Michael George has more from outside the courthouse where opening statements began.
Mr. Derek Chauvin betrayed this badge.
Prosecutor Jerry Blackwell began his case against former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin with the most powerful piece of evidence. For 9 minutes and 29 seconds, the 14 jurors watched an entire bystander video of Chauvin pressing his knee on George Floyd's neck.
Grinding and crushing him until the very breath, no, ladies and gentlemen, until the very life were squeezed out of him.
Chauvin has pleaded not guilty to the charges of murder and manslaughter. The defense argues Floyd's death was caused by a heart condition, methamphetamine, and fentanyl.
There is no political or social cause in this courtroom. But the evidence is far greater than 9 minutes and 29 seconds.
Attorneys for Floyd's family kneeled before the trial began. They say this trial is a referendum on racial justice in America.
This murder case is not hard. When you watch that torture video of George Floyd.
Minneapolis is a city on edge. The area around the courthouse is protected by fencing and the National Guard. The protests here have been peaceful, but the fear is if Chauvin is acquitted, that could change. Among the protesters, many told us this should be an open and shut case.
I have confidence in that judge. I have confidence in the jurors that this man will be convicted.
People is on edge, man. They ready to do something. These people is on edge so bad.
The first witnesses have already begun testifying. The trial is expected to take up to 4 weeks. Michael George, CBS News, Minneapolis.
And back here at home, we want to take you out to the breaking news situation happening right now in Kalihi. HFD crews responding to a house fire, and credit to how quickly crews have responded to this, already starting to extinguish the house fire that is unfolding. This is just off of Waiakamilo Road, right behind Kei Fuku Radiator. A number of HFD trucks have responded. This is a live look from our crews that have made it to the scene.
Yeah, Darren Akita there, our photographer on scene, and we're seeing some flames coming there from the peak of the roof for our podcast listeners. We're seeing small flames still showing in the structure fire right at the peak of that roof of that home there near the solar panels. And again, HFD responding. We're going to continue to follow this. Looks like HFD crews are inside or very close to the roof of that flames right now because we're seeing water and a foam type substance being used to put out that flame right now as we speak, Mark.
Yeah, it's still gathering more details on the exact location of the home, how many residents, how it all started, but we'll be bringing those details to you as soon as we get them. Again, HFD crews responding to a house fire in Kalihi.
Dr. Deborah Birx is talking about her time as the White House coronavirus response coordinator under former President Trump. In an interview with CNN, she talks about a phone call she had with Trump last August after she spoke publicly about the spread of COVID-19.
I knew I was being watched. Everybody inside was waiting for me to make a misstep so that they could, I guess, remove me from the task force. It is extraordinarily widespread. The CNN report in August that got horrible pushback. Everybody who lives in a rural area, you are not immune or protected from this virus. That was a very difficult time because everybody in the White House was upset with that interview and the clarity that I brought about the epidemic.
I can tell just by reading your face that was a really tough time. What happened?
Well, I got called by the president.
What does he say?
Well, I think you've heard other conversations that people have posted with the president. I would say it was even more direct than what people have heard. It was very uncomfortable, very direct, and very difficult to hear.
Were you threatened?
I would say it was a very uncomfortable conversation.
During the pandemic, we've relied on hand sanitizers to help keep us safe. But now, a new study has found higher than allowed levels of a potential cancer-causing compound in 21 products from 15 different brands. CBS News says some of these products contain benzene for sale on major retailers' websites. The leading brand Purell and many others had no detectable levels of benzene. CBS News chief medical correspondent Dr. John LaPook joins us to explain.
David Light runs Valisure, an independent lab and pharmacy that tests drug products for quality. Over the last several months, they started finding benzene, a known carcinogen, in some hand sanitizers.
Honestly, I was shocked. It might very well be the most well-known compound that is dangerous to humans.
Valisure's chief scientific officer, Corey Kuchera, walked us through the testing process. So this peak represents the amount of benzene that's in this bottle.
Correct.
And that's high?
That's high.
In the early days of the pandemic, the FDA relaxed standards on benzene levels in liquid hand sanitizers, according to Dr. Leonardo Tresande.
There was an effort to really increase hand sanitizers and the availability.
The FDA allowed liquid hand sanitizers to contain benzene in a concentration of up to 2 parts per million. Valisure tested hundreds of products for benzene. Valisure says of 260 products, 21 from 15 brands tested above the FDA interim limit. The top 3 tested between 6 to 8 times higher than allowed. Batches of this sanitizer, with a baby Yoda on the front, contain nearly double the allowable amount. Attempts to get a response from manufacturer Best Brands Consumer Products were unsuccessful. CBS News found the product available on Amazon, who told CBS News it is investigating the products in question.
There's no reason for that kind of a product to be on the market.
Dr. Daniel Teitelbaum is an expert on benzene exposure. He warns benzene absorption could be increased in workers who use a hand sanitizer contaminated with benzene, then put on gloves that prevent evaporation.
There are people who have special risks. It's a lot of healthcare personnel. It's a lot of cleaning and sanitation people.
In a statement, the Walt Disney Company said it launched independent testing on the Baby Yoda sanitizer and has instructed Best Brands to withdraw the product until more is learned. Dr. John LaPook, CBS News, New York.
Another weekend, another large party on the west side. This time, HPD took some action. Grace Lee has the details.
All right, so sorry, but we have to shut it down by the police, so we're gonna have to turn it off.
The event organizer, 27-year-old Christian Ulufanua, was arrested for disorderly conduct and breaking COVID restrictions. This event was promoted to be held at Coral Crater Adventure Park, and it was the listed address for the arrest itself. Ulufanua reached out to share his side of the story. He says he was working with HPD ahead of the event to be in compliance.
Saying, hey, please wear your masks, try to socially distance, but let's continue on with this event. HPD says we're good. The second time I was personally reached out, and I was told, hey, it's getting too tight. People are not wearing their masks, and there's a lot of presence on social media. It's getting too popular. And at that point, I was given one or two options. It was to shut down the event myself or have it been shut down and take the responsibility of the event. And I took the responsibility of the event. It's my event, and I invited everyone, so I chanced it. I chanced them. I told everyone, hey, I've been asked to shut down, but I say it till the break of dawn.
We reached out to HPD to confirm whether that event was originally approved, but we have not heard back. Ulufanua says he is planning more events in the future.
All right, back to our breaking news right now. A live raw video feed coming into our newsroom from our photographer at the scene at this Kalihi building fire. We can see some cars have been damaged as well. I do not know how that was damaged, but you can see some definite fire damage to the truck there. You're seeing there, Mark, a red pickup truck. Really extensive damage there and some windows knocked out as well. Fire crews look like they've made a lot of progress since we've even started this show. Let me take you to another vantage point. This is from our tower camera. You can see really no more smoke coming from the scene there. Again, we're going to continue to follow this. Our H&N digital crew is writing up all this information right now, and we'll give you an update. And you can also see there's a little bouncing around there with those winds outside. Let's get a check of the weather. Here's Billy B.
Happy Aloha Monday. I'm Billy V sitting in for Guy Hoggy. Here's your forecast. We'll start with the waves. 4 to 6 feet is your largest surf over there on the south-facing shores. This is a little bit above average, and it's also going to have a reinforcing swell as we go through the week. So those waves on the south-facing shores will pretty much stay there. Everything else is 3 to 5 right now. Let's give you your rain and wind trends. Now, we'll start with this morning, and we'll kind of move forward. When we get to Tuesday, notice that we've got an abundant amount of moisture across the state as we've got light winds. But on Wednesday, the trade winds return, and you notice that it starts to pick up, and those rain moves from the right side to the left side of your screen. That's trade wind weather. Windward and Mauka showers drifting leeward at times. So that is relatively in your forecast. And Friday, Saturday, Sunday, especially as you look at the 7-day forecast, that's when it gets breezy. So start off light winds today, tomorrow. It starts to pick up to trade wind weather Wednesday, Thursday, and then the weekend weather breezy. Get the latest on air, online, on your mobile device, and at hawaiiNewsNow.com.
New today, the container ship blocking the Suez Canal has finally been dislodged. Ben Wiedemann has more.
The Suez Canal is open again. A round-the-clock effort finally managed to free the Ever Given, that massive container ship, at 3:15 Cairo time Monday afternoon, ending a 6-day saga that totally blocked one of the world's most important waterways, stopping almost 400 ships and tens of billions worth of cargo from reaching their destinations. The chairman of the Suez Canal Authority put out a statement saying that navigation on the canal is set to resume, but it's going to take several days to clear up the congestion, and the after effects of the canal's closure will be felt for weeks. It's still not clear what caused the Ever Given to get stuck. Initially, it was thought that sandstorms and high winds were to blame, but Egyptian officials haven't ruled out the possibility of human or technical errors. Blaringly apparent, however, is just how vulnerable international trade is to seemingly random events. I'm Ben Wiedemann, reporting from Cairo.
And on Wednesday, Love's Bakery shuts down its ovens for good after a 170-year run. It's been Hawaii's longtime supplier of local bread, but it won't be disappearing entirely. We've learned that the brand has entered a licensing agreement with Portland-based Fran's Family Bakery. They will reportedly begin producing products on the mainland using the existing Love's name, and in a partnership with the Hawaii Food Service Alliance, Love's products will remain on local shelves into the future. The Coco Crater Summit will be closed for the next 3 weeks for safety repairs, but as Sammy Salina reports, you can still drop by for a hike if you go on the right days.
Safety work needs to be done at the summit, which is going to require closures in the area for the next 3 weeks.
You can still hike on the weekends and holidays, but you won't be able to make it all the way to the top. They're removing debris from tunnels and shafts, as well as sealing them up. They're also installing warning signs. There will be several days, including today, where the entire park, along with the shooting range, will be closed. The other days are April 5th, 13th and 14th.
So beginning today is our Summit Safety Mitigation Project, which is going to require the closure of the Coco Crater Summit for the entire 3-week project. We're going to be using a helicopter to transport some materials to and from the summit. So that's going to require the closure, as you mentioned.
Everyone like myself, locals, visitors, people from around the world, they love it, and taking a look at the view, all of the east side, Kaiwi coastline, the whole, out into Diamond Head, and they just love the view and think of it as like their bucket list.
The city isn't touching the steel platform at the top. They came to an agreement with the volunteer group Coco Coalition to replace the platform at a later date. That volunteer group is about a third of the way done with replacing those wooden ties. They hope by the end of this year, that worn down hike will be looking pretty good. Sammy Salina for This Is Now.
Thank you, Sammy. I've actually never done that hike.
Neither have I.
Really?
I've lived here for 30 years, moved away for a bit, but still have never done the Coco Crater Trail. I hear it's a great workout, but the stairs also look intimidating.
Yeah, I've been here 10 years and didn't do Diamond Head until last year when I had to go up there with Mahea.
Yeah.
So, yes, let's get to some news from the feeds. So, the first electric Hummer is off the market and has been sold for $2.5 million. And get this, GM hasn't even built the vehicle yet. This is part of an auction to raise money for a foundation there. The Hummer this is the first run, the first in production, which was sold. So again, it hasn't actually been made to the public. They also sold the 2021 Ford Bronco. And get this, it went for more than $1 million as well. And that new Bronco looks so cool.
Yeah, really some incredible images. And to think that, okay, you have that model there, but once it's actually released to the public, and they said the VIN number would be 001. So the all-electric Hummer, huh?
Yeah,
Crazy.
I think it looks super cool. I really do. And it has hints, it's sort of like the cousin of the original, but still a lot of differences there. It looks very futuristic still.
Yeah, and still very sleek. And then how about this story? The motel from the Emmy Award-winning Netflix series and Schitt's Creek, okay, because that's the name of the show.
Yes,
all right.
You didn't swear.
The property known as the Rosebud Motel, it's actually called the Hockley Motel. It's up for sale and includes more than 6 acres of land, backs up to a waterway, being listed, forget this, $1.5 million.
Woo!
Very cool. You watch the show?
Yeah, I watched some episodes. I really, really liked it. I'm not a super fan like Minnie, but I really enjoyed it, and I bet that will become quite the tourist destination.
Oh, absolutely. Still in great shape.
All right, guys, we want to check back in with our breaking news. Here's our photographer at the scene of this Kalihi home fire right now. We can still see HFD responding, not quite as active as the scene we were seeing earlier, right, Mark?
Yeah, really some outstanding work from the Honolulu Fire Department, because moments before we came on air at the top of the hour, you could see black smoke, a huge plume visible from the freeway, visible from our traffic and tower cams, but in the last 15-20 minutes or so, you see how crews have tackled the situation. It seems to be under control just from a visual observation. We don't have the official go-ahead yet from HFD, but a house fire in Kalihi seems to be taken care of by HFD. Still wondering, though, about residents, number of structures involved, cause, damage. We already saw that a pickup truck was involved as well.
Yeah, it definitely had extensive damage to that pickup truck, and we still haven't learned if there's been any injuries from this fire as well, so we'll keep you posted on your H&N digital platforms as well. You guys, that's going to do it for this very busy edition of This Is Now. Mark and I will be back here tomorrow. We'll see you then.